Welcome back to You're Always Fine, a space to show up for yourself and embrace the mess that lives underneath because, let's be real, it's exhausting always being fine. So grab your headphones and allow yourself to listen, laugh, and even cry, because you are not alone and we aren't always fine. And that's okay.
Welcome to You're Always Fine. I'm Bizzy, and today I'm your host. We're sitting down with Lauren and Kristine to get to know them a little bit better. So let's just start with you, Kristine. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to go into the field of mental health.
Oof. I don't know if this was a choice, honestly. My senior year, we had to be there because I was a diver. And so I was like, let me lighten last semester of senior year. I'll take a class, right? I took this psychology class. Anyway, I was dating this guy and he was like, I think you'd be you're so easy to talk to. Reflectively, I think he just didn't want me to earn more than he did. He was an athletic trainer and he just I think it was more about him. But, being dumb and young, I was just like, oh my gosh, he thinks I'm good at something. And took this class and I was like, yeah, sure, let me do it. Really did not impress my parents in that way. I applied to only one school, NYU, had no idea. Luckily, it worked out for me, but I do believe it saved my life. In terms of the fact that I really needed it. And, I had been in therapy since I was 16, but I really needed a way to understand myself better. Clearly, if I'm making decisions of my whole life based on, some guy telling me that I'm easy to talk to. Thanks, Bob, I guess. But, I don't think I fell in love with the profession until midway through the second year of my master's, to be honest. So,
Wow. So
crazy.
everything kind of worked out for a
Thank
reason.
God. Thank God you're always fine, because otherwise that would have been a very, very expensive relationship that I'm no longer in.
And Lauren, the same thing. So tell us why you kind of went into the field of healthcare.
I knew I couldn't be at a desk job, honestly. And so I felt like, especially in the early 2000s, before the internet was really robust the way it is now, I felt like I didn't really have a lot of options because I didn't really pay attention to what I wanted to do after high school. I thought I was going to join the military. That clearly didn't work. And so I remember hearing one of my friend's dads at the time trying to convince him to be a nurse because he was like, oh yeah, so-and-so, their daughter's a nurse and she works 3 days a week and that's considered full time. And she really likes the department that she's in. She gets to work with blood and guts and stuff. He was trying to appeal to it's not all babies and soup and stuff. You didn't talk about engendering the profession. And he didn't listen, but I did. And I was just like, what's this about nursing? So I actually volunteered. I signed up to volunteer at the ripe age of 17 in my local emergency room. And I was like, oh, this is friggin' cool. So I just kind of started to put myself in more healthcare scenarios, I guess, just to really test myself to see. And I was lucky that I had made connections with surgeons that would let me sit in on their surgeries. I don't know if that's a legal thing. And if it isn't, yeah. So, and then I probably didn't really figure out, everybody talks about your niche in nursing, what really appeals to you. I don't necessarily believe that you have to pigeonhole yourself into one specialty, but I will say psychiatry and mental health really spoke to me the most. And so I think that's when I really started to get more excited about nursing. I won't say healthcare, but nursing.
So sounds like you and Kristine, perfect match, the mental health, the psych background.
You mean the making poor decisions for our whole life? Maybe not poor decisions, but I will say impulsive, emotional decisions based on, limited fact finding. Yes, Bizzy, I would agree. We're great at that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Lauren, you learned those 3 days a week full time is a lot more than just those 3 days a week.
It's not just 3 days a week. It's never 3 days a week. It's never 3 days a week.
So Absolutely not. To our next question, kind of in that same lane. So, Kristine, you're a therapist with a mental health background. Which Taylor Swift lyric or song, I'll give you either option, represents how you are feeling about your current mental health right now?
Okay, I'm going to give you the one that I think is always going to be like my whole picked view on it. It's from her most recent album, Midnights. And Snow on the Beach, she says, life is emotionally abusive. And I just cannot tell you, like, listen, yes, like I've never, it just is. Like, every time you think you've got it together, you do not. Oof, my current mental health, like, era, what am I in? I would say You're on Your Own, Kid. That song just is all about like how you can face this, you've got this, like, but you're on your own. And while I have a great supportive network, honestly, I think I've been really trying to like figure my internal self out. So like every space that I'm in, all I'm kind of doing is like, my own decisions, my own values, my own this, and not calibrating. And so I would say that, but I mean,
Lauren, if you were to switch lives with a fictional character for a day, who would it be and why?
I really like Claire from Outlander. She's really ballsy and sticks to her guns. And one thing I've really liked about her is like she brings change, inevitably, obviously, because she's from present day, and brings that with her. But she brings change to like situations, and I'm not saying it's necessarily good or bad, but I like that. I thrive on change. When people that don't know me like to sit there and say like, oh, she job hops, or oh, she's just moving all over the world. It's like, yeah, I do, and I'm not afraid of it. Like I do that for many different reasons, and I enjoy it, and I would like to think that I leave a lasting impression whenever I do hitch up my gypsy wagon and move on, that like
I love that
I've left a little bit of myself behind for those who have to stay behind to enjoy. So and I think Claire does that, and plus I really like the show, so yeah.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, you are quite the opposite of me. I hate change, but that is that's what fuels your fire, and sounds like you like people that stick to their guns, their authentic self. Like how Kristine, if you could instantly master any skill, either professional or personal, what would it be?
I don't know. People are so talented. So I feel like there's like a long list. I genuinely just love to learn things. This is a really hard question for me because I would say probably learn to like code and do like everything that Jeff and our devs do, because great skill for where like the world is going. Master one skill in a day. Jeff, I'm still coming for you and the devs. I want to be a part of that team. So if I get that superpower, sign me up.
So in Kristine's next life, she will be in software dev, is what it sounds like. Not touchy feely, legit,
Nope.
Just coding in
Legitimately.
there. So that's Kristine's next life. She'll be software dev, and she'll be on the other teams here at Even Health. Lauren, if you were to write an autobiography, what would be the title?
I think they forgot to install brakes in my gypsy wagon. how I've survived and thrived the bullshit but comedy that life has thrown at me.
Just wrote the whole book right here.
That's like, that could be a Taylor Swift lyric. Kristine said life is emotionally abusive. Kind of the same thing, it sounds like.
Yeah, something along those lines. I think you're onto something right there.
Yeah.
Thank God this is recorded.
Definitely. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever heard?
For me, it was recent. And it was from my girlfriend, Kim. And she said, maybe instead of worrying that you're not enough for someone, maybe you should be thinking that that you're too much for someone. Maybe you should be thinking that maybe they're not enough for you. And that doesn't mean to like completely absolve yourself of any accountability, for your flaws and your personality. But I think we can all, empathize with that statement, and so that's really kind of helped when I've developed new relationships and friendships.
That's a good
Love
one.
That. That's a good one. Kim, shout out to Kim. That was a good one.
Yeah, Kimmy is my girl.
All right, Kristine, what's
Um,
yours?
My therapist, when I had gotten sick, I really struggled a lot during that period, that era of my life, if you will. And she, said, I was always so worried, like, I would this, but you know what, at least I get to still work, or at least like, someone's child is dying or whatever. And she was just like, you don't have to be thankful for the cards you were given because somebody was given different cards. And for me, that just like was a moment like, wow, like, yeah, anything you're going through is not comparative to anything other than what you're going through. It's not comparative to Lauren or Bizzy or, somebody else who has it better or worse. It's your situation. Again, I think that kind of goes back to the era I'm in, which is just like internalizing and realizing that like everything really is inside me.
Powerful pieces of advice. And hopefully our listeners walk away with some advice each week that sticks with them as well.
That slaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on that note, we could not be more excited for the official launch of You're Always Fine, coming to you on September 12th. And if you haven't already, head over to youralwaysfinepod.com. Again, that's youralwaysfinepod.com, where you can listen to our trailer and teaser episode and subscribe to the show.
Seriously, you're fine.
Mind your health.
You're fine because you have the power to access your place of peace anytime you need it. However, if you get stuck, we're right at the palm of your hand to help. Check out our show notes for this week's source list, recommended content, and Cabana live group schedule. We'll catch you next week for a brand new episode of You're Always Fine.